smiles? When I first started using Genesis technology, I was kind of embarrassed at all the love and attention I got from my customers. People are so moved by how much I understand about them, they start including me in their lives. That's Helen and her friends. I arranged a wellness retreat for them. Look at those ladies. Such wisdom. But it's really Genesis that helps me understand people and what they truly need. I'm just glad I can help.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live with a beautiful topic of discussion and a talk that's coming from our speaker up next. Well, humanizing factor. How do we really balance that art of balancing and focusing on technology and also people? Because our previous speakers have confirmed that technology is just an enabler, right? But you definitely need the people to do the better experience, right? So let's talk about the better customer experience journeys. And if you're ready to add more perspectives to this thought, allow me to warmly welcome on the virtual stage Feroz Khambata, the chairman of Rasna International. Mr. Khambata, it's over to you.
Thank you very much. And when I first heard about this virtual meet, I was so happy for the simple reason that if it is physical, I cannot attend, I have to miss, but virtual, I'm not missing any show. So anything is virtual, I'm taking because that's a good opportunity. I think we have to now start looking at the advantages of the virtual world. And I'm so very happy that this whole day's events have gone so well. And we have so much interest in this very nice topic. But the reason why I am going to take my 10 minutes discussing about obviously technology and people, but I have to set the context for the same. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm also, because obviously I'm from the food industry, having led a food company, having led organizations and associations in food, and part of a lot of food efforts of the government of India, including MOFPI, also because I have got a ringside view of many government policies, also because I sit on the boards of 1 or 2 education institutes to do with food. So I think it is better that I first take you through what I see as the future of food and how we can link people and technology to the future of food. Because there's no point looking backward. I think we need to look forward. And the way I look at it is that we have to look at India feeding the world. And obviously now a lot of people in the room will say, Mr. Khambata, first let us feed ourselves. For example, we ourselves import so much palm oil and so much pulses. And obviously our shells have nice looking cheese and mozzarella cheese and whatnot. But I always believe that first we have to think global. And obviously India also will be part of the game. And I always believe that the right models for us are the agro-food processing conglomerates, the big companies in Brazil, China, who feed, let us say, tomato paste not only in China, but tomato, all the pizza which you eat almost in the world is now made with tomato paste from China, not Italy, though they call it Italian pizza. And similarly, all the orange juice you drink, you think it is from Florida, but all is from Brazil or probably Mexico or some country like that, the lemon in particular. So obviously, they have become global powerhouses. So why can't we also become the powerhouse in many products? And obviously, there are a lot of new future trends which we have to take. So I'm going to talk more about that. And the first future of food idea which I have in mind, and honestly speaking, that once again has to be linked with a lot of people on the ground and technology, is Atmanirbharta, what I call food security. Because in the essence, what COVID has taught us is we need food security. We need to grow ourselves, everything which I mentioned, palm oil and pulses. We need to process ourselves. We need to have technology ourselves. And we should now really ensure that the Prime Minister's vision of Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat is a reality. I think we have to imbibe this vision in our day-to-day culture. I would believe this has to be part of our charter. I think as corporate CEOs, we have to make a charter for ourselves. So our charter should talk of, let us say, Atmanirbharta, self-sufficiency. Only then we can ensure what I said here right now, what I call being a global food flavor and factory to the world. This cannot be achieved without technology and people at the farm level. I honestly believe that that's where I think companies have to start investing. We have invested a lot of time, efforts on a lot of things at processing level. I think in food, once again, I'm sure other sectors also. But because I'm from food, I'm putting more attention on food. But I'm sure it's for other sectors. We need to, at least in my sector and many other sectors, go on the ground level. How can we work with the farmer, for example, using the government's farm reforms, government's new laws, especially contract farming. We need to support all that. We need mechanized farms. And nobody is saying that we want to own farms, but how can we ensure that our people, see, we have what is the asset of corporates? We have good people, we have good technology. Let us use that to ensure that we get the crop which is needed for the market in terms of fresh as well as processed. And let us once again encourage the government or catalyze reforms, because we should support reforms, because reforms in agri sector are good for everybody, but most important, the farmer. I repeat, the most important beneficiary of agri reforms will be the farmer. So why not we support it? The other thing which is very new in technology and a lot of us are using is basically organic. And obviously you will say, well, the orders, we have talked about it, but I think we need to really make it part of our culture. We need to have what I call organic. We need no hormones. We need no chemicals. We need no pesticides. And many parts of our country have this natural habitat. Government is, helping organic innovative products. The government has a PLI scheme, which is basically productive link incentive scheme, where in food processing, obviously the big corporates have got it. For exports, you have got, but there is a subsector which I am very happy to say for organic food. So if an organic food company, even in MSME, SME, can apply for the PLI scheme, and we should market organic as a good product. And I'm sure with this new what I call e-com sector, a lot of organics can be directly sold from the farm gate to the customer via the new technology of the apps. So I believe there's a huge market in organic food. A lot of people are already doing. You can buy organic milk sitting on your mobile. I'm sure we can do it with many, many other products. The other need of technology, and honestly, I somehow believe that we need the best scientists today. Obviously, our best scientists sometimes try going to other sectors which they think are more modern. Somebody is going to space, somebody is going to pharmaceuticals, and that is welcome. But we need more science, more people. We need as corporates to really invest money into genetic, biomolecular research sciences, DNA transplantation, especially in food. I somehow believe that we have to look at some DNA, GMO food. There is nothing wrong about it. America is doing it, of course, in such a manner that the customer is not affected, health is not affected. We need food security at one area. So obviously we need to have higher yields, which is possible by this, which we need to feed the world, because the world is getting more prosperous. We need to feed them. More importantly, by these type of using science, we can also look at higher protein in food products, like higher protein in banana, higher for fiber, and lettuce. So a lot of good things can happen if we really spend people, time, money, technology on this. Other big trend which I think we need to catch up, and I think we once again need to invest in the resources to the trend of substitutes. And when I say substitutes, they are what I call healthy substitutes. We all know meat is good, meat has protein, but obviously meat has some negatives also, especially cardiovascular diseases, ABC. I don't want to get too much into that. Of course, we need meat, but we need to control meat. How can we control meat? By having meat substitutes. So a lot of people are coming with what I call analog meat, meat which looks like meat but is not meat. Similarly, they have no egg, things which taste like egg, feel like egg, but are made from plant sources. Milk made from plant sources. People are using mung, soya, wheat, coconut, potato, mushroom. A lot of such substitutes are coming up, and I believe they are good for health. They are good for the planet. And the next part which is important is they are also good for the sustainability, because these type of what I call meat substitutes are using less of the meat. So I think they are more sustainable in the long run. It is much more sustainable to make what I call a vegetarian meat than the real meat. The other work which I believe which has happened once again, where we need to use a lot of technology, is in our own R&D labs. And we need to devise, like so today coincidentally sitting in a lab only. So we need to work on newer products. We need to work on products which are, let us say, less fat, because that's what customer want. Less sugar, using, let us say, sugar substitutes. Like our company has been using stevia since probably 5 to 7 years. So maybe other substitutes from 15 years. We as our own have a theory of reducing sugar. Similarly, salt. We need to go look at more dietary fiber usage. We need to promote healthier oils. So if we are adding in our products A oil, we can place B oil. And obviously, we need to look at more baked products than fried products. So a lot of work has to happen in R&D. And let me tell you, we don't need an NGO or a government body to tell us do this. I think we ourselves are customers, our children are our customers. We owe it to our companies. And I think the people working in our system should also understand that we owe it to our customer and to our customer to have healthier products. The other important thing, what I call is basically look at newer sources. And that's where I think, once again, we need to channelize our research, our R&D efforts, and a lot of our human resources into having people who can make the new generation products. For example, hydroponic farming. It is happening in small parts, but we need big mechanized greenhouses. 1 acre can make 100 acres, something of that sort. Aquaculture. We don't need to go to the ocean to have shrimps. You can have shrimps sitting in Ahmedabad. And we need algae. Now, a lot of you will be surprised. A lot of companies are working on algae as a source. I'm saying it is a good source of nutrition. It is easily available. If we need to feed the millions, especially government has to feed the, let us say, people below the poverty line, we need to work on such nutritious sources. Of course, we have to make it palatable. We have to make them healthy. So that is the need of the hour. Then we have to use technology for increasing sustainability. We are all talking about it. That yes, in October we are seeing rains, and in December we are seeing heat, and in May we are seeing snow. Now this is going to continue till we take care of our planet. And obviously you will say, what can we do? We are small, but everybody has to do something. So if we have, say, let us say, emitting X CO2, let us reduce our CO2. How can we, once again, I say, work on food products which use less of what you call less carbon footprint? So how is that possible? How is it possible to reduce the carbon footprint with usage of alternate, basically electricity? How can we use better storage, better EV? A lot of our in food chain, there are a lot of cold chains. How can we make our cold chain more climate friendly? And the second part, in every industry, very important for sustainable is sustainable packaging, because that is also a very important part. And this plastic ban, no ban on anything is not going to work. Gujarat is a classic example. Here there is an alcohol ban, but alcohol everybody is available freely, everybody knows. So you say no plastic, it is only going to create some real, what I call pleasures to somebody. Let me move a nice word. So I think the better idea is let us work with industry, the big players, the packaging industry on more recycling, using recycling plastic, ensuring that the products are recycled into carpets, into whatever cushions. People are making sofas out of recycled plastic. So how do we promote that? How does industry work with the local municipalities in collecting this plastic? And how do we ensure that there is no littering? How do we give the message to the people that please don't litter? And of course, certain times the single-use plastic which is not needed, we can probably change to paper. We can use jute, we can use bamboo, once again technology. But we need sustainability in both the packaging and for our climate. Now coming to the other important aspect which we have learned from COVID is to use more technology to make what I call Indian health but global products. Like ginseng, the Koreans took it to the world, and I think everywhere, pharmacies around the world, we see Korean ginseng. What is ginseng? Ginseng is our ashwagandha. Now, similarly, we have, let us say, amla, we have turmeric, we have ginger. I think I can talk of 100 such crops. I don't know all. There are many, many more. I just give some very common examples, but there are very special examples also. How can we take Indian herbs, make processed food out of it? How can we sell them as health substitutes? Because in today's world, there is a small dividing line between food and health. A lot of people are using food as health and vice versa. So how can we do that? And my favorite topic in today's world is digitization. And when I say digitization, I think a lot of speakers would have talked about digitization at factories level. I'm not going to talk about that. I believe we need digitization at the farm level. To give a small example, tomatoes. So many places, if you see pockets, some tomatoes are going sort of waste. People are throwing away, selling at 2 rupees. At one end, some tomatoes they are selling at 30 rupees. Now, if we can link through technology the prices, we can have markets linked through technology. We can have messages going. We can use our knowledge in basically supply chain to ensure that we use technology. We can ensure that the farmer doesn't have to waste, which are for him, it's a suicidal matter. How can industry help the farmer get a better crop by using technology? As simple as that, I'm making it simple. And why can't we do this with all our handheld ideas If I was sitting at home, our children can order, let us say, radiotherapy pharmacy. I'm sure we can enable the farmer, and I think the government is working rightly with all that. Secondly, we can ensure that we ourselves help take government's money and ensure more computerization at the farm level, increase the efficiency, speed, product distribution, and second is obviously consumer. How to link consumer, how to get consumer response online. A lot of niche products. Earlier, we were never able to sell in the brick and mortar stores, in the grocery stores. We can sell a lot of niche products through virtual, which I just now said, for example, organic or one of those health products. So I believe the whole motto has to be digital first. So in essence, I will just summarize before Shikha has come to tell me now my time is over, but I'd like to just take 1 minute to summarize. In summary, I think it is very important to harness two important things, people and technology. And we need to harness towards the future ideas, innovative ideas, innovation, and ensuring our mission and goal. Our mission and goal is what our Prime Minister has given, $1 trillion economy, Atmanirbharta, Make in India, and this can only happen if we work together. Thank you very much.
Mr. Khambata, thank you very much for those insights. And of course, with all those insights, a zing being added to the summit, wishing you a lovely day, rest of the day, in fact. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, my delegates, you know that is just the last few minutes left. And I would urge you to do everything that you can to be the top scorers on the leaderboard. We are just warming up for the penultimate session that's coming up. Be right back. Please explore everything that you encounter and enjoy the last few minutes at the summit. We'll be right back.